Hello and welcome back to my craft room. Well, I have got a little kind of unplanned bonus video in my Maggie inspired month. My Maggie month is turned into. This little mini series has been inspired by our Maggie Morris, who you'll know really well if you're in the Arty-farty Annie Facebook group. I know she belongs to some other Facebook groups as well. Just because the question always comes up, I'll say it now. No, Maggie doesn't have her own YouTube channel or Facebook page or anything, and she's very modest, and I don't think she realised quite what an impact and what an inspiration she's been on so many of us in our creative stitching journeys. So this little series has all been about looking at some of the pieces of Maggie's work that I'm lucky enough to have with me, kind of analysing what she does, what she uses, the techniques, the colours, the stitching she uses, the material she uses, and seeing if I can emulate that Maggie-licious style. So I've already done my scroll. I'll show you where I've got to in a minute. Well, actually, let's go to the desk now. These are some of the scrolls that I've been very lucky to receive from Maggie. This little one will actually end up being given away. In fact, this is one that Maggie made specially for me. I have shown these before in the previous videos, which I will link to. This was the one I actually made myself, so I'm really pleased that it kind of, it sits there and looks kind of like it fits in, like it fits with my little Maggie collection, so I'm delighted about that. I've had a wonderful time making it. The other second planned project was to move on to doing one of these big pieces. So these are two pieces that Maggie gave me, and one of these will be given away at the end of this project as well. And I've got some of the gorgeous fabric, so I'm gonna use a piece myself to create a project. It's going to be, I'm going to make a large circular, I'm going to call it a circular grab bag. If you don't know what those are, I'll explain that a little bit. I'll explain that when I get started on the project, but I think this will be perfect to use for that. So that was what I was going to start next, but oh, and I will have some pieces of this fabric to give away as well, thanks to the generosity of Maggie herself and Jen. Thank you, ladies. They very generously sent me some pieces of this fabric, so I will have some of that to give away as well. So at the end, when I've done all three of my Maggie projects, we'll be celebrating with a bit of a giveaway fest. So watch this space if you're interested in any of that. Now, I'm going off on a little bit of an unplanned tangent, because this was another scroll that Maggie gave me, and she sent me this it's like a couple of years ago now, and this one is a little bit different because she started it. I can remember at the time she mentioned that she used stencils and stamps to create the background pattern to stitch into for this one. Isn't it beautiful? What a lovely effect, and what a great idea. Now, Maggie showed in our Facebook group the other day. The other thing I've done is show how to make these little funky junky spools to put your slow stitched or arty scrolls on. Also painted some dolly pegs, which you can also, they're perfect for winding your scrolls onto. You can just slot the scroll in there and wind them on. So all of that, I've got videos on all of those. I'll link them all in the description box. So Maggie showed a little glimpse into her working process for creating this kind of a background. She showed a couple of photos in the Facebook group, so I'm going to take you there now and show you, and then I'm going to have a go at recreating a couple of backgrounds to stitch into to get this kind of effect. And this will be a little kind of bonus project, really. So here's the Arty-farty Annie group. You can see one of Maggie's scrolls is featured right at the top, and it's so funny because she did that with a piece of lovely fabric that Shirley sent her from the US. She embroidered it like this and then sent it back as a gift for Shirley, which I thought was so sweet, and Shirley was thrilled to bits with it, so I think that's really nice. So lots and lots always going, look at these beautiful things people share. This group is just bursting with creativity. It's just fantastic. Ideas, inspiration being shared all over the place, and such a supportive, heartwarming community. I'm so proud of it. Now here's Maggie's own scroll inspired by my video, which is so funny. I kind of used a lot of the pink and green fabrics that Maggie had sent me, so she's used a similar colourway here and created her own scroll. So it's me being inspired by, so it was Maggie being inspired by me being inspired by her, which I love. And it's beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. Maggie's work's just amazing. Here we go. This is one I'm after. So this is how Maggie starts this kind of scroll. So the others have started with little scraps of fabric onto a calico or batting background. This one is started onto a strip of calico which is stamped onto. I'm going to do a mixture of stamps and stencils, because I'm sure with that other one a couple of years ago she mentioned she'd used stencils as well as stamps. So here she says she stamped 2 calico strips with grey ink. It'll need some wadding on the back before I start stitching. I needed to be careful of the straighter stamps as a couple look a little bit wonky, but this is just the start yet. I don't think wonky matters with slow stitching. That certainly doesn't to me. So what a lovely start. I'm going to see if I can, I'm really excited to see Maggie share some pictures of her progress on these pieces, but meanwhile I'm going to have a go at creating a couple of backgrounds for myself to work on. So this is kind of what I'm aiming at, this mixture of curved and straight, geometric and organic shapes, little patterns, big patterns, spaces to stitch into. One of Maggie's signature things is all the bright, lovely, vibrant colours. Also, that the other big thing is that she just stitches into every single available nook and cranny. No nook or cranny is left unstitched. She uses, I think, almost exclusively perlé thread. It's a number 8 perlé thread, and yeah, these lovely vibrant colours. The stitches are actually pretty straightforward. She doesn't do really complicated fancy embroidery stitches. The magic that she works is in the colour and texture that she creates with this like mass of stitching in this perlé thread, and the gorgeous use of colour. She's just got such a flair for pattern and colour. So let's see what I've got to play with and how I get on. So I'm going to put my precious scrolls out the way a little bit. I don't want to be messing them up. These little funky junky soldiers, I love them because I've put buttons on the bottom, beads on the top, so they stand upright. And the next thing I'm going to be creating is again out of recycled stuff and junk from my stash, is a little unit to display them in, made out of an old shoebox. I've actually found 2 old shoeboxes, so I can do one more fabric and stitchy and one more artsy and mixed media-y, because I think these little things would be a lovely way to display art scrolls as well as stitched scrolls. So that'll be coming very soon. Let's have a look at the stamps I've got together first. So these are your normal kind of what they're called, polymer stamps, silicone stamps, whatever they're called, I don't know. We know these that you put onto a stamping block. That's what I haven't picked up as a stamping block. Sometimes I just use them, I don't even bother with the block, I just press them down like this and I don't even worry about it, because I'm not usually going for accuracy. So, but I might get a stamping block for those in a minute. I've just I quite fancy the feather shapes, these swirly floral shapes I think will be nice to stitch into. I like the kind of outline shapes here for following along with stitching. I might even add some colour to them, because I'm not one of the lovely things about this Maggie project has been seeing other people inspired by it, making their own scrolls but putting their own spin on it as well, so that you can definitely see it's got that Maggie inspiration, but also you can clearly see it's different. It's been done by the person who's done it, and so my difference might be that I will add some ink tints in some of these colours before I stitch or whatever. I don't know, we'll see. I quite liked the idea of this one just being able to follow the pattern of that one. I wouldn't do a great long expanse, I'll just put the small patches of this down. Same with this, I would quite enjoy filling all of these little spaces with different stitches, and that's something I think would be very kind of Maggie-ish to do. So So quite looking forward to having a go with those. And they're just ones I've had for years from when I was doing my mixed media stuff and card making and things. I've had them for ages. I've also got these, which I bought more recently. I picked them up really cheap in a charity shop. No idea where they came from or what the make is, but I got them for silly money. Like, it was like a couple of quid for this set of 6. And they're all, you know, you don't even have to go looking for the block because it's all done. And you always get such a lovely crisp image with these dense red rubber stamps. I also love the smell of them. So I thought some of these patterns would be beautiful, and I might even just do a long narrow scroll that actually fits these and just stamp them like that. You know, that could be quite fun, couldn't it? It's got them to play with. I also put these here because this is a good example of like the really cheapest chips foam stamps that you can get, just like they're in like kids sets, really cheap to pick up. You quite often see them in charity shops. You could even cut simple shapes yourself out of craft foam. But I think all of these would be quite nice as a base to stitch into, so got those to try. These kind of look similar in that they're on this dense foam, but they're more of a rubber stamp feel surface, and I thought they might be fun to stamp into. I'm going to, rather than just stamp outlines, I'm going to use some colour. So some of these will end up with coloured ink that will still be showing when I've finished, but I'll be stitching over the top. So that would be my little point of difference. It won't be quite like Maggie's done it, but it's certainly taken inspiration from her work and her techniques, you know. Then I wanted to try stencils as well. So I've been in my stencil drawer. Again, something I used to use a lot back when I was doing a lot of mixed media and card making. And I picked out these ones. You can see how well used they are. Which I'm going to try in a couple of different ways. I actually have used this one a lot in previous work. You can see I haven't used these at all, but I think these are the ones that would be really good from a slow stitching thing. I thought, I like this sort of paisley. I love that sort of paisley thing. So definitely want to try that one. Not sure if this one's a little bit fiddly, but then on a small scale scroll, perhaps it's ideal. I thought maybe just a little piece of this one would be fun. This is something a bit different. This doesn't feel very Maggie-ish, but you can see how much fun that would be. I almost feel like doing a separate scroll with just the pebbles. I might even do that. These two I'd forgotten about. I think these came in a tonic kit, and I were kind of made to coordinate with a stamp set, but I didn't ever get round to using them. But I'm thinking, I mean, they're a perfect shape, aren't they? A perfect design just to fit along a scroll. Don't know how much scope they give me for slow stitching though, so I don't know. I put them there. This same idea as that stamp, the sort of chicken wire stamp, in that I would quite enjoy filling the different spaces with different kinds of stitches. And there are 2 different ways I can use these stencils. I'll either be using them like a stencil with inks, coloured inks, or I've also got my heat erasable pen so I could put them down and draw around. I'm going to do a bit of both. This one, the brick wall, again I just thought quite fun to fill in those different shapes with different stitches, and maybe even follow the, you know, the spaces that will remain between could be chain stitched or whatever. This is just a bit of punchinella, and I thought either I can ink through this or I could actually draw through, but I think this one's probably one I would ink through. Again, background, and again, so this is like a small version really of that, isn't it? So yeah, lots to play with there. Now as far as inks are concerned, I had some stamps. I think these, I can't remember which stamps they went with. They might even have come with that, you know. Don't think so. But I think this was cheap inks. I'm kind of feeling like, was it a set I got in Tiger or whatever it's called, that place? Not sure how well those will work, but definitely the thing is, it only needs to be a kind of guide to the stitching. Even if it just leaves a faint impression, that would be big enough. So I might try these inks just to use them, really. These are the kind of pigment inks I like using normally, and I've picked out 5 of mine and Maggie's favourite colours there to use. And then to do it more like that one piece that I just showed you of Maggie's, I've got a couple of options here. So I've got this black VersaFine, this one Create and Craft with Christine recommended for getting a really nice crisp clear image. So where I want that, I'll probably do this one, and that's a nice dense black. If I want it to kind of more fade away and not show once I finish stitching, a grey would be better. So yeah, this one's a pigment ink. This one is a archival ink. Hang on, what is it though? Is it pigment or dye ink? Archival inks are waterproof, permanent and acid-free dye inks. Yeah, dye inks. They won't bleed when used with other water-based dye inks, acrylic paint and watercolours. So the grey is nice in that it will kind of fade away and become less apparent once I've done the stitching. So I'm going to try a bit of a mixture of all these things. This is just a bit of an experiment. As I say, it wasn't kind of part of what I'd planned for this Maggie month, but I just couldn't resist having a go, and I just thought I think lots of us will enjoy playing with this idea. So next thing is, what am I using? What am I gonna stamp on? So I've just got a piece of an offcut of this calico, which is a medium weight calico. I use this for a lot of different things. So I'm just going to tear some strips off of that, and that will be my scroll. Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't like the torn edge, I do occasionally get comments about, yeah, well, I don't like the torn edges. But if you don't like the torn edges, just don't do the torn edges. I don't know what to say about that, really. Just like, if you don't like them, if you want to follow along with one of my projects and you don't like the fact that I've got torn edges, I won't be offended if you want to turn your edges in. That's all I can say is you do it your way, make it your. I'm really happy for people to take inspiration from any of my projects and do their own thing with it. Yeah. So if you don't like the torn edges, just turn them in, and then you can choose to blanket stitch or whatever later on. Just gonna rip it, and the reason I rip it, again, people do ask, is that generally, as long as it's a reasonably good quality fabric, if you rip it, it will go straight to the grain, so it just saves me trying to get a straight line, really. Sometimes you can't do that if it's a print, and if it's a print that isn't properly following the grain, you can't always do that. But for my purposes here, ripping it is fine. And I should probably get my craft iron out now and give this a press before I start stamping on it, so I will do that in a moment. The other thing I'm going to need is some kind of batting or wadding or something to put behind my work. Don't have to do that. You could just stitch straight onto the, and this is in like a medium weight calico. You could definitely just stitch straight onto that and then back it later on. I like the extra thickness of a little bit of thin batting like this, cotton batting or this synthetic one. I just like the feel of it and the texture of it, but you do whatever makes you happy, really. The other reason for having this wadding is that I'm going to do some of my stamping onto it, because that might help me to get a better impression. I haven't shown you, I've got over here separately these. That's what made me think of it, because these will work better with a little bit of a softer surface underneath. Just something not really soft, but just with a bit of yield to it. I think this will be fine. So these are carved wooden stamps. One of the motifs that Maggie uses a lot is the spiral, and I do love this triple spiral one. This one, again, the paisley, and I think that's going to be delicious to stitch into. These are the simple patterns I can dot around. But yeah, I will get a better impression especially with these carved wooden stamps with a little bit of a yielding surface. So that's what I'm thinking there. So I'm going to just stop recording for a minute while I get these pressed, and then I'll be back. Okay, here we go, all nicely pressed, and I've got rid of all the stringy ends. As I say, if you don't like these frayed edges, get rid of them. If you do like them, keep them. You can choose to turn them in later on if you want to, whatever. At the moment, I'm going to be leaving them like that, and I'll see how I feel later. So what shall we try first? Okay, a couple of random stamp books. Like I say, I don't always use them. Sometimes I just leave it on the carrier even and just press it down like that. You know, I might just try these first in the grey just to get me started. Just do them on this little small one here. So this one is the archival ink. Should be permanent and waterproof, and it's grey, so it will kind of fade away when I'm done with it. Been a while since I used this ink. I hope it's still okay. It looks wet still, so that's a good sign. Let's have a go. Yeah, that's fine. That's just doing it on paper. I'm going to try it first then without any squishy background behind it. I'm just going to put all of these on in sequence and just see how that looks. So I'm just giving it a bit more time, a bit more of a press with this as it's going onto fabric. Yeah, that's okay. So you'll see the difference in a minute. I'll do some with the black VersaFine ink, and you'll see, you know, where I want it to be a clearer, sharper image, but in this case this is what I want, this grey that is definitely clear enough for me to see to stitch into, but won't be too obvious when I'm all done. So I'm going to use that all the way along and just try out all of these. I think see how they come out. I think as I've not used these stamps before, I'm going to do the first one each time onto paper, because sometimes that very first time you use a stamp, it doesn't always come out the best. Also, I can check if I really want to include it. Yeah, I think I'm happy to include that as well. That one didn't come out so clear. I didn't spend so long pressing on it, did I? So I think I've kind of lost that one a little bit. If I get one like that where I'm not so sure, then I will just end up covering it with pistol stitches or something. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll just cover it with stitches. This one looks like I've actually used it before. It's the only one, or whoever had it before me has used it. Okay, I'm just going to work my way along here now and cover this whole scroll with these pieces. This is very different from, this isn't really Maggie style, but it's certainly taken inspiration from Maggie's technique. I'm going to try just leaving it on here for a little minute. I just feel like when I'm stamping on fabric, I just want it to have time to kind of sink into the fabric a bit. It's probably nonsense, but that's where my head thinks anyway. Yeah, see, that's better, isn't it? I think this would be quite fun to stitch into, actually. And I could even have added some colour to this piece already, if I wanted to. You know, so just marbly colour with my ink tints. In fact, I still could, because this is permanent now, so I can put water stuff over the top of it. I can put wet media over the top of it without it spoiling, is what I'm trying to say. Let's test this one. Oh yeah, I like this, one of my favourites. Right, I'm just going to work my way all the way along this one now. Do you know what occurs to me is it would be lovely to do as a black work sampler, wouldn't it? And I've got all that black thread I bought just recently. I might even do that. I've got an brode in the natural colour. It's got me thinking now. That'll be a very not Maggie project, but you know, it's been inspired, it's been triggered by the Maggie project. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this one. I'll be back. So I'll just finish doing that one, and that really isn't at the moment very Maggie-ish at all. I could make it more Maggie-ish by adding colour to the background before I start embroidering, but it's still not Maggie-ish, as in it's too kind of straight and kind of rigid. Maggie's more higgledy-piggledy and organic and, you know, random. But I'm still glad that it's made me think to try that, because I'm really looking forward to getting stitching on that. So let's put that onto one side. That's for later. Now I'm going to try another one with some different stamps. I'm going to do some stamping in the black. I'm going to use some colour as well, and just basically use all these different kinds of stamps and stencils in different ways to see what kind of random crazy pattern I can produce on these strips of fabric. So I think probably what I'll do is just it should be quite sort of clear, I think, what I'm doing. You'll see me using these brushes. These are brushes you can, the most economical way to buy them is to buy them as cosmetic brushes. You can get sets pretty cheap that way online, and they're lovely to use. They're really soft, dense bristles, and they're great for getting blended effects with inks. I use them more than anything with my distress inks. Love them. So you'll see me using those. Other than that, I think it's going to be fairly obvious what I'm doing, so I'm just going to put some music over this and do a bit of stamping, because I don't want this to get too long. It's just supposed to be a little quick bonus video really, and it's already going on too long. So if there's anything, and if you've got any questions about anything, pop it in the comments and I'll be happy to help if I can. Okay, I think that is it for these. I think you can see, putting that one aside because that's a bit different, I think you can see that, and I've used different kinds of stamps and things, but you can see where I'm going with it. I think I can kind of end up with a sort of similar effect. I went wrong here and overstamped something, so I tore out the bit I didn't like and I've overlapped there. I will stitch over that bit and just carry on, and there'll be a little frayed edge in the middle, and I won't mind that one bit. I might even do another frayed edge or two down here just to make it feel more deliberate. Being a little bit careful because I've got ink all over my fingers now and I don't want to get that on this scroll. But yeah, I'm really looking forward now to taking all my perle threads downstairs, and I'll spend some time this evening playing with some stitches, and I'll post some pictures in the Facebook group. I don't want to. I'm not going to do all that on the video because I really would like to try and keep this a little bit shorter. This video, I just need to take some wadding downstairs as well. I must remember I need to put my little bit of batting behind there. Yeah, I think I'm going to really enjoy this. It will probably be a good couple of evenings work on this one, But yeah, I'll share pictures in the Facebook group when it's done, and it'll be interesting to see if a few other people try these kind of techniques as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Maggie's turn out. One other idea that I reminded myself about as I was going along, and it's something that I've done with stencils and with texture plates and things before, and that was using, let me just come up to talk to you a minute. That was using Crayola crayons, just normal kids kind of Crayola crayons, with texture plates or stencils or something that's got kind of texture like that, to just rub over. It's really quick and quite addictive to do. Just use a piece of ordinary like calico like this, put your texture plate or your stencil or whatever you can find. I mean, even like looking around me here, you start looking around, you can see texture everywhere. So I've got this notepad here. Now that would make the most amazing texture with a Crayola crayon rubbed over it. And then you could stitch into that. In fact, I'm so tempted to just quickly find a Crayola crayon and just do that a minute, just to show you. Now, I'm trying to keep it short and sweet. I will link back to that video. So yeah, definitely another technique well worth a go if you just want some fun background patterns to stitch into. And I used all different colour crayons, but you could just do it in a plain colour and just use it as the pattern for the stitching. Add the colour with your thread. So yeah, it's just a few ideas there. Now Maggie she also suggested there's another YouTuber who she'd seen doing different kinds of backgrounds for slow stitching. I'll look that up and try and remember to put that in the description box to this video as well. I haven't actually had time to check that out myself yet, but yeah, I'd be interested to see, because it's just lovely to get, you know, isn't it amazing that thanks to the internet we can all just share all these ideas and inspirations with each other, and it doesn't cost us a penny. It's marvellous, isn't it? Okay, thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that and it gave you a few ideas. Please do keep on sharing your scrolls and whatever else you might be creating inspired by, well, any of my videos or these projects or what you see in the Facebook group. We always love to see, and any arts and crafts are welcome in either our Discord community or the Arty-farty Annie group on Facebook. It's not just about stitching. Okay, thanks very much for joining me. Thanks again to my lovely friend Maggie for all of the inspiration, and I'll see you all again really soon. Bye.